The countdown to the presidential elections in 2019 is underway, and this one is shaping up to be a bruising battle between some of the heavyweights in Nigerian politics. Join us every week until you cast your vote next February, and we promise to keep you informed on the ever-changing political landscape. There are tough choices for you to make in 2019, so we'll try to help you decide on Nigeria Decides. Welcome to Nigeria Decides. I'm joined now by Professor Kingsley Moghalu. He is the presidential candidate for the Young Progressives Party, the YPP. Welcome. I've been wanting to meet you for a long time.
Well,
I've seen, I mean, you're a disruptor, aren't you? Let me just say that out of the gate. You
Absolutely.
are a disruptor. You want to shake up the system. Why and what do you stand for?
Well, the reason why this system needs completely to be shaken up is that it has not worked for all of us normal Nigerians for far too long. And my being a disruptor is even more significant because I have been part of the technocratic establishment, not the political establishment. I've never been a politician. But having been a deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, I mean, it doesn't get, very much more senior than that in terms of economic management. And so, but I have made a decision from what I have seen, from the experience I've seen inside, that Nigeria needs political disruption. Our political leaders are corrupt, they have no soul, and they have no plans for Nigeria's poor people. The poverty in our country is an existential threat. That's why I'm running for president.
Now, you're standing in a position where you've never held office of this sort before. You've worked at the United Nations, you've worked at the central bank, fair enough, as the deputy governor, but it's a different kettle of fish at the top. It's very easy for you to sit here and say there's poverty, sit here and say these things need to change. Much harder when you get into the spot, as most people have. What makes you think that you would be any different once the realities bite? Remember, Donald Trump, an outsider like you, said, this job is much harder than I thought it was, and everybody was laughing at him. How do you know that's not going to happen to you?
No, it's not, because I have had the preparation for the presidency through institutional leadership. There are three things the president of Nigeria from 2019 must do. Number one, he must heal Nigeria and build a nation. Number two, he must wage a decisive war against poverty and unemployment. Number three, he or she must restore Nigeria's standing in the world. There is no one in the race today who is as prepared for those three responsibilities as I am. 17 years as a United Nations official, fixing and rebuilding broken nations, from Cambodia to Croatia, from Angola to Rwanda. That's nation building 101.
But you had the UN behind you with that. You had the UN machine behind you. Here we're talking about Nigerian political presidency.
I know, but that's valuable experience.
Yes, I wouldn't put it
Then I, as Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, have played a leadership role in the management of the Nigerian economy. Managing the economy is a fundamental function of the Nigerian president because the security and the welfare of Nigeria should be the number one duty of
Bill
government.
Clinton said, it's the economy, stupid.
Exactly, according to the Nigerian constitution. And then diplomacy. How do you relate with world leaders? How do you project and protect Nigeria's interests in the world? I am prepared. As a former United Nations official, as a professor of the practice in one of the world's leading schools of international affairs, I've had a global...
I understand. I always say that the word president, that you have to think about the first two letters in the word president. PR. That's your job is to market. And the presidents that we respect in Africa, Akufo-Addo, Kagame, are very good at marketing their countries. And you're saying you're going to be good at that. But let's talk about brass tacks here, right? It's one thing we're not very good at in Nigeria, and it's not just within politics, it's also in the private sector as well, is implementation. We're very prescriptive. The Nigerian electorate is crossing their arms and looking cynically at you through their left eye, going, my boss, I've heard all this before.
Exactly. Let me answer that. I've heard all this before.
Give me
Let me actually
solid solutions.
Absolutely.
What are you going to do?
Here's why my presidency is going to be different. First of all, I have a vision which has been set out in a book, Build, Innovate, and Grow. my vision for our country. So you can
And
hold
what
me.
is the vision? Give me the précis. Give me the elevator pitch.
That's right. The elevator pitch is that I will heal Nigeria and build Nigeria into a real nation, not just a mere country. I will, as president, turn Nigeria's economy into a productive economy that takes millions of people from poverty into the middle class structurally, because I have the economic know-how and I have the economic experience. That's very important for the next president of Nigeria. And I have been a global diplomat for many years. So the question of advancing Nigeria in the society of nations is something I can do in my sleep. Now, how am I going to do all this that is different? First of all, I've told you, I've written it all out in a book. So you can hold me to it. I've set out the vision, and it is out there for everyone to see.
What is the vision?
But I've just said the vision.
Yeah, but how? How do you?
How are we going to do it? Now, this is how. There are 4 offices I will set up in the presidency
Okay.
that will drive my presidency and ensure that we fulfill all our plans. I'm not making promises. I am making plans. There's a very big difference, because plans are to be implemented methodically, systemically, and
So your roadmap, basically
my
a
roadmap
roadmap
for
for
Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Yes,
Yeah.
and those 4 offices are as follows. I will set up the Office of National Strategy.
Okay. What's that?
I will explain it in a minute. I'll set up the Office of Performance Management. I will set up the National Office of Risk Management, and I will set up the Office of Human Capital Development. These 4 offices will be in the presidency. There will be no politician within a 10-mile radius of any of these 4 offices. They will be the engine room. The Office of National Strategy will develop the grand plan with the milestones and benchmarks for the 4 years of my presidency, and who will be responsible for what, and within what time certain things should have been achieved. Now, the Office of Risk Management will help me as the president to manage the risks that prevent many presidents from achieving what they set out to do. Those risks could be political risks, they could be strategic risks, they could be operational risks. That is to say, the implementation is weak, or you're playing too much politics instead of just getting on with the job, or you're relying too much on oil, which is a strategic risk. So I'm a risk manager. So I'm coming to the presidency with this mindset. So now, the Office of Performance Management,
Performance management.
yes, will look at all the arms of the government and be checking in on them every 3 months. Is this department meeting their part of the benchmarks? If they are not, accountabilities will flow.
That's the measurability, the accountability
The
part.
measurability part of it. I expect to have fired 1 or 2 ministers within the first 6 months of my government.
Did you hear that? He's going to fire you if you don't perform.
Precisely.
Okay.
Precisely. So, and then the Office of Human Capital Development will help us build up the public service of Nigeria by retraining them to be an efficient and effective service delivery force. This is what will be very fundamentally different about the Kingsley Moghalu presidency.
But people may argue that you're expanding an already bloated federal system, which takes a vast amount of Nigeria's
We're going to be
reserves.
cutting down other parts of
You
it.
cut down other parts. Okay, look, all politics is local.
Yes,
yeah? You're an
absolutely.
Igbo man, right? You're an Easterner.
Nigerian,
Right? You're a
first of
Nigerian,
all.
but you're an
Please,
Easterner,
yeah.
right? And we have zoning, we have this gentleman's or gentlewoman's agreement that it will rotate between north and south. You don't speak Hausa, do you? How fluent is your Fulani? Yeah? How is your Hausa?
Are you inferring that I must speak Hausa?
No, I'm
in order
not
to be
saying that.
qualified
I'm
to be
saying how.
president of Nigeria?
I'm just saying it. How?
Okay.
What the? My job is to ask the questions.
I speak Igbo, which is
How
my
are you
ethnic
going,
language, and
How
I
are you
speak
going to
English.
get the north?
Good. That's what you should have asked.
Yes,
Now, let me...
that's what I meant.
Okay, good, good. Now, I am a Nigerian candidate for the Nigerian presidency. I have a vision that rises above all these ethnic divisions, Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba. My vision is to heal Nigeria and build a nation. What does that mean? It means we are going to build a unified and united country. It means that I have a world view of transformation whereby we have a national ambition around which all of us, Hausas, Yorubas, Igbos, Efik, Ishekiri, we can all unite around that higher level of ambition. That's what's lacking in leadership in Nigeria, and that's what I'm going to be bringing. Now, speaking about zoning, Zoning is an anachronism. It has failed. It is unconstitutional. Let's not even waste our time with those types of things, because that's why we're a very poor country today. Haven't you heard that Nigeria is the poverty capital of the world? That's where we are. 20 years of democracy since 1999 with zoning. Yeah. So the problems of poverty, are they zoned? They're not zoned to any part of Nigeria. So why should you zone the search for a solution?
Well, you certainly have the passion to be president. We'll be watching you as you go along, and I hope you come back onto the show very soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good to have you.
I want to thank Professor Kingsley Moghalu. Still to come on Nigeria Decides, I talked to Eunice Atu-Ejide. She's the founder of the National Interest Party, and Ali Soyode, founder of the Yes Party. Both of them have set their sights on the biggest job in the land, the presidency, and what makes them think that they have a chance. Also joining us via the internet is Dr. Philip Idiawo. He's the UK chairman of the ruling party, the APC. Plus, we'll be looking at the issues that are making headlines in Nigeria right now, and we'll invite our guests to give us their views. Don't go away. Hello and welcome to Nigeria Decides. I'm Mark Edo. Nigerian politics is a two-horse race, right? Between the ruling APC and the opposition PDP. Well, maybe not this time. This election is shaping up to be the one where we witness the rise of the third wave. Political hopefuls, presidential hopefuls, with little or no political experience, but the will to lead. And there's a lot of people who want to be president. On Nigeria Decides, you've heard from one political candidate, and now we've got two more alternative presidential aspirants on the show. They're both from newly formed parties, and they both claim to offer a bold new future for Nigeria. Firstly, Eunice Atu-Ejide is one of the only few women to enter the fray and joins the race for the Nigerian presidency. She's the founder of the National Interest Party. And if you live or you spent time in the UK, you'll probably recognize Alistair or Ali Soyode. He's the former chairman of Nigerians in the Diaspora. Ali is running for president on the ticket of the Yes Nigeria movement, which he founded. And joining us via the internet is Dr. Philip Idiawo. He is the UK chairman of the ruling party, the APC. You're all very welcome to the party. I almost said. You're welcome to the party. You're welcome to the program too.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now before we speak to all of you, yes, let's show the viewers what you all say you stand for.
It's my time.
Eunice Atu-Ejide is Nigeria's youngest female aspirant for the presidential elections. Her National Interest Party is not only young in terms of its existence, it's young in terms of its membership, with most of the founding members under the age of 40. She recently caused a storm on social media by declaring that she was not, quote, a feminist. Many felt that being a young woman seeking the highest political office in Nigeria sort of contradicted that.
Yes, we can!
Alistair Soyode seeks to be the bridge between old and young Nigeria. The owner of Ben Television says he started the Yes Party with the aim of coming up with positive solutions to Nigeria's political problems. He says instead of talking about the problems in Nigeria from a negative standpoint, we need to educate citizens on the civil and human rights that they have.
Yeah! I can't hear you, yes or no? Yeah!
Okay, let's get straight to it. You both want to be president of Nigeria. What does it take to lead our fatherland, and why should you be the one to do it? Eunice.
I believe it would take honest leadership, openness. It would take a leader who is ready to listen to all the sides, to look at the problems of Nigeria, not as areas or my side, my tribe, my religion. We need a leader that would come in there and look at the country, see the problems of the country, and solve for everybody's benefit concurrently. That's what it would take to lead Nigeria, and to lead it to the right places where it needs to go. We need a visionary person.
And you're a visionary person,
100%.
So, I mean, this is a very tall order. Let's look at who you are, right? Okay, I don't know what your network is like, but you had very humble background. Your father was a taxi driver. Your mother was a petty trader. You're now a successful lawyer, mother of 5. All very amazing achievements. You had no silver spoon in your mouth. All those things can be certainly brought to leadership. What we are talking about, the president of the most populated country in Africa with the biggest economy. That is an enormous task to take on. What makes you think you should be the person that should be elected?
You actually described me. You described the girl who went from the slums to the paradise and did it all on her own terms. No godfathers, no addition, no father to help you. So at the end of the day, what did it take? It takes leading your own life, making sure that you get your life together, no matter what the circumstances were that you had to deal with, and then make sure that you put it together and then present it for yourself and you like what you're seeing. And I'm saying to myself, that's exactly what we need to do for Nigeria. We need to take all these our brokenness, we see all the inability to succeed because some people actually do not want it to happen. They believe that it's their own property and it's up to them whether or not the rest of us do well. Take it away from them and allow the people earn the right to be happy. Allow the people work for themselves. Allow the policies that would enable development to come to Nigeria. We could do that. We are not doing it because the people we are always voting into power do not want it to happen.
Alistair,
not because the chance is not there.
There's nothing she says probably that you disagree with. I keep calling you Alistair. You now call yourself Ali. Is that for the northern vote?
No. As I say, only those who know me from one particular region would know me from a different name.
Okay, so Ali, right? Okay, so yeah, I mean, we don't disagree with Eunice. Easier said than done. How are you going to do it?
Somebody who has been with the leaders over the last 2 decades. For me personally, I have been promoting Nigeria for more than 15
with
years.
Ben TV.
With Ben Television in Europe, directing development to that country. I've been a former chairman of Nigerians in Diaspora Organization. I have mentored thousands of youth in the country. So basically, I have been delivering, I have been contributing to the development of Nigeria, in Nigeria as well as outside the country. So interacting with the leaders, I know what they have been going through, I know what their capacity is, and I know that Nigeria being the #1 economy on the African continent, the most populous, as you rightly mentioned, what we're achieving today is not what we could be delivering to the Nigerian people. So it takes indeed a visionary and somebody who has been creative, innovative in what he has been doing in their life. What I want is let people judge or check the profile of every candidate that is saying he wants to lead Nigeria today and then rate them based on what have they done to the country, not just because now they want to become leaders.
Fair enough. I mean, sometimes somebody described it, I think the former US ambassador to Nigeria as dancing on the brink, that Nigeria often really feels that because we're so big, that we're too big to fail, right? And in doing that, we don't really plan well enough and we don't implement well enough. Now, listen, the two of you have achieved a lot in your personal lives and your professional lives, but if you were in that spot, it looks very different at the top when you're looking out through Aso Rock and you have that job to do. That's very, very different. Give me some clear idea of what you would do differently from these guys behind us.
Exactly.
Either of you jump in. It's open season.
I always make it clear, for me, knowing and seeing, I am really right there in between all the good, bad, and ugly parts of Nigeria, and I'm seeing it and I'm saying the best thing to do for Nigeria now is to open the system up, and the best way to do it is to make sure you put in strategies to allow for transparency, accountability, and transparency. Inject that into the Nigeria system, you see a country that is moving. You will see a country that the economy is becoming stable. You will see a country that contracts can happen, and it is actually what the contract is worth that is being paid. And you don't see people that are getting kickbacks because they are stringing the arms of the
You're talking about
investors.
corruption. But listen, corruption is the #1 thing that Buhari will say it has been his main achievement, fighting corruption. In fact, he's fighting this election on a single message. I'm going to keep fighting corruption. So, I mean, how would you say that you do better than he does?
I'm not going to go after people the way he's doing, just meeting enemies, and everybody that has been against him, he's throwing into pandemonium with EFCC and everybody. I am just going to make sure corruption does not happen. happen. What Buhari is doing is counterproductive because he's chasing after people who have stolen and who are against him, who are in opposition parties. And that's not helping us.
Let's talk to someone from the ruling party. Dr. Philip, you're over there. You're the APC chairman in the UK. I would probably say that's probably the most important diaspora representative because, you know, London is full of Nigers. Let me just say that for a record. Not just us, we're everywhere. So you've got an important job. You've heard now, and I'm sure you've been following these alternative candidates. Speak up for the APC. I said it's probably easier from this side to criticize. What do you say?
Firstly, let me say that, welcome Alistair and Eunice to the race of wanting to be president of our country, Nigeria. And also let me say to them that perhaps of all their achievements, the greatest of all of it is the fact that they have joined other patriots to come out at this time and say they want to lead Nigeria. And I think that is a very massive achievement, the boldness, the courage to be able to take that step. Now, for the first time in Nigeria's history, you have this kind of process taking place. I think that in terms of what APC has been able to achieve for our country, I think that people are underestimating the positives that the party has.
What are the positives? What are those positives?
One, it is the fact that for the first time in our country's history, power was removed from the hands of those individuals that has held the country down.
Yes, Dr. Philip. But we're talking about. We're not talking about the last election. We're talking about the next election, and we're talking about what can be done for Nigeria now. Looking back at the victory of APC over PDP is by no means really that relevant to the problems, the endemic problems, and tackling them as they need to be tackled now, sir.
Absolutely, but you see, people need to understand that we need to situate where we are coming from. So that is the first thing. The second thing is this: the promises that were made by the President Buhari, has he focused on delivering on those promises? The answer is a capital, resounding yes. He promised that he will face on the insecurity that was ravaging the country. He has done tremendously well in that regard.
We'll come back to you to hear more about that. We'll take a quick break. So much more to discuss. So please join us just in a few moments. Don't go away. Hello and a warm welcome back to Nigeria Decides. I'm Mark Edo and I'm pleased to welcome back our panel of presidential hopefuls. Now, Dr. Philip, before the break, you were talking about the achievements of the Buhari regime. Continue.
Yes, I was talking about the achievements in the security sector. Now, at the time APC came into government, it was such that the security apparatus of Nigeria was completely in disarray. And Boko Haram at that point in time was running riot across the entire length and breadth of Nigeria. Today, the security apparatus of Nigeria is better organized, regardless of all the naysaying by the opposition and all that. The security apparatus is better organized. Boko Haram is better contained, But I mean, is it that we have attained 100% in that in the area of security achievements? The answer is no.
Okay, so you're saying security.
Okay,
I'll allow Eunice. You're shaking your head and you're sounding so exasperated.
I am.
Why?
Like, what is he talking about? Is he talking about Nigeria? Yeah. Nigeria, where hundreds, thousands of Nigerians are getting slaughtered. Like what Boko Haram was doing is not anywhere near as bad as what the Fulani headsmen are doing. This time around, they go there, they slaughter women, they get the babies out of their tummies and splash the heads, and not just in one region, like the entire country.
Well, she does have a point that more Nigerians have died in the Middle Belt than have died in the Northeast this year. So you do have a point. But he's saying that Buhari tackle this thing head on. And if you look at where we were before, where there were great swaths of the Northeast that were basically controlled.
Still controlled by Boko Haram. Boko Haram
so.
walks into the Northeast, takes away Dapchi girls, 100 girls, and then they give them grand exits. They go away. And then they give them grand re-entry. They come back and they give us our girls holding one. Leah is still not back today. But Boko Haram walked into Dapchi with planes guiding the entry.
Okay.
And planes guiding the exit.
Let me get Ali.
And you tell me Boko Haram is less potent
Ali,
now than it was in
Ali, you're Yoruba man, right? Yeah, but you grew up in Hausa land and you speak fluent Hausa. When you see these are your people too, I assume. Come in, what do you think?
Well,
security?
Yes, for me, I'm a Nigerian. I'm not Yoruba, I'm not Hausa. My mother and parents are from the north and south of the country, and I was born in Katsina. So in true sense, what is happening in the country is of concern to every decent Nigerian. And something needs to be done. As much as they say they're curtailing the situation, when they curtail this situation, another angle opens up, which is then worse than the scenario that Nigeria is encountering.
So how would you deal with it then? What would you do differently?
See, in leadership, there are different criteria for profiling each and individual person. Based on the personality of who we are, based on my personality of what I have been doing for the country, I know what needs to be done. When we're talking about the security issue, let's look at it globally. What is it that the people are doing? We have technology. We have things that can be used at any given time, even at night, to dictate where people are hiding in such places. And if people are carrying weapons up and down the country, which they shouldn't, constitutionally they should not, then you need to bring out the equity, you need to bring justice, because the aim of our own party, which is the Yes Party, is three: equity, peace, and justice. If you treat each Nigerian with equal right, then you have peace.
Okay, let's talk about equity, that first thing, okay? So let's talk about the main issue. The rise of Boko Haram can often be drawn back to poverty, hunger. When you have an empty belly, it's easy to indoctrinate you, right? But that hunger goes across Nigeria. Listen to this. Nigeria has recently overtaken India as the country with the largest number of people living in extreme poverty, with an estimated 87 million Nigerians, around half of the country's population, thought to be living on less than $2 a day. Now, the number of Nigerians falling into extreme poverty grows by 6 people every minute. Poverty is a big problem, yeah? A massive problem. How do you tackle that? Eunice?
Poverty in Nigeria is directly linked with the economy of Nigeria, and that's where the problem is. And what do? You open up the system.
What do you mean by that?
You allow the investors, the private sector, to thrive. You allow investors to come in and do what they know how to do best. This government does not do that.
Oh, well, the government will tell you that you're talking about ease of doing business. This government has improved the ease of doing business by 24 points. We used to keep going south.
All
then
right,
for the first time, we're going north.
Let me help
right?
you, because I'm one of those businesses going to Nigeria every year, bringing in investors from everywhere. You come in there, after all the contracts are signed, they tell you, don't give me $10 million right here, right now.
So you're talking about back to corruption.
Oh, calm down. And then it's over. It's actually over. You have hundreds of businesses, investors, people coming in to do education, people coming in to do aero, people coming to do auto, people coming in to do health. And the point in time the contract is to be signed, the governor, the PAMSEC, the director, the gateman, everybody tells you, you don't give me 10
wants a
million,
handout.
you don't give me this, you don't give me that. And then what happens? Even those that money to invest, they end up packing up.
Dr. Philip, I have to bring you in here because this is really your job. You are the link between British businesses, European businesses, and Nigeria. As the APC chairman, you obviously understand how, in ease of doing business, making it more fertile is how important that is. Now, this government will tell you that's one of their greatest achievements, won't they?
Absolutely. I totally agree with your assessment. And it's interesting listening to Eunice. She wants us, or she wants the world to believe that she has a magic wand to deal with that. Now, and she says that, she does not agree or believe that Mr. President going after corrupt people is the right attitude. Of course,
no,
if people are corrupt, if people are saying that they have a right to deprive others of what should happen through bribery, it is the duty of Mr. President to ensure that examples are made of these individuals. Now, is it possible to deal with the depth and the scope or intensity of corrupt behaviors amongst Nigerian civil service and politicians in a space of 3 years or by a single individual? The answer is no. It is the fact that it is the duty of all Nigerians, inclusive of UNIS, to ensure that the campaign to rid Nigeria of the attitude that drives people to believe that they have to collect money for services as kickbacks is dealt with, and it should be dealt a fatal blow.
Let's go to NNPC. Let's go to NNPC. Your boss, Buhari, is the president, he's the minister of petroleum, and his people are in charge of NNPC. Ade also is taken away now because she raised issues about the remittances from NNPC. You are talking about corruption. You are imprisoning people that left government 8 years ago. Okay. And you are telling me that you are fighting corruption.
Okay, just let him finish.
It does not matter when they left government. The point is whether they left government yesterday or they left government today or they left government 20 years ago, if they have been found to be involved in corrupt practices that has made the governance and the growth of Nigeria difficult or stunted, it is the duty of the city president to ensure that such individuals are dealt with and dealt with decisively.
Okay, let me stop you here because we have to bring in, for balance, bring in Ali. Ali, listen, you are been a bridge for 20 years between the West and Nigeria. From your perspective, from that unique perspective, what do you think?
Well, to be honest, in terms of dealing with corruption, for me, when people talk about the president need to do something, no, the president does not need to do something. The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria empowers every institution to deal with any activity, especially if it is criminal. What you need to do is to strengthen that institution, empower them to do what is necessary according to the law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That is the difference between those who feel the power belongs to a person rather than the power belonging to a nation. What I believe is the power belongs to the Constitution of that country, a sovereign nation, Nigeria. What we do is empower every individual person to know that you are as good as the next person, as good as your neighbor.
Okay, that leads me on to something else. It's about diversity in politics, yes? We've seen this third wave, people like yourselves, that never before would have been seen in the political arena, making genuine attempts for the top job and other jobs. But we need to get more women in the seat of government. There's no doubt about that. You know, if you look at the example of Rwanda, for example, they have the highest rate of government, women in government in the world, not just in Africa. Over 60% of the seats are actually held by women. Eunice, I know this is a very, very strong thing for you, but you actually did cause a flutter on Twitter recently. Let me read what she said. I don't know if you found this. Eunice, this is what Eunice said. She said, in capital letters, I am not a feminist, now by force. Who is a feminist? My friend who won't cook for her husband and kids because of equality? The one who always insults men because she can? Ladies, who won't let men hold doors for them because it diminishes their value? Wouldn't be feminism. I mean, my sister, you're supposed to be supporting women. What's going on here?
I support women 100%, but I'm not feminist because I don't think of problems from the point of view of the women, from the point of view of let's take care of the problems as it pertains to the women first, and then look at all the other issues. I like to look at problems like completely, holistically. So the problem
of more women in government.
The problem of more women in government can be taken care of if we actually implement the equality provisions in our constitution. We have great laws in Nigeria. Our laws do not discriminate on any of our women. It's the practice between the people that does that. So if we actually apply the law the way it's set out in our constitution, in our other laws, the women will be fine. When you allow competition and the women are allowed the same level playing ground as the men, most times the women do better. Okay. And I'm saying allow level playing ground and our women will come in.
Okay, I have to stop you there because we have to take a quick break, and when we come back we'll be talking about some of the big news stories, and I want to get their reactions and see what they think. If they want to be president, they should have answers, right? See you in a moment. Hello and welcome back to Nigeria Decides. Now, we're going to take a look at some of the news stories affecting Nigeria at the moment. First up, of course, we have to begin with Nigeria's aviation minister, Hadi Sirika, who's announced that the plan to bring back a national carrier has been abandoned. Remember, it used to be called the Flying Elephant. Well, the Flying Elephant is still grounded. In a tweet, he says, I regret to announce that the Federal Executive Council has taken the tough decision to suspend the national carrier project in the interim. All commitments due to be honoured. We thank the public for your support as always. I've got to ask, Dr. Philip, you're still with us. A national airline is a matter of pride. When we saw Air Nigeria was going to be brought back, we were happy. When we found out yesterday that it's not, we were sad. What's going on, sir?
Absolutely. Yeah, I am as sad as yourself, and I am as sad as any patriot, you know. And I think that what has happened with this project is most regrettable, because it is one of the flagship projects or flagship statement of Mr. President during the campaign, that he will ensure that we will have a national carrier. Now, I think, and I agree with a lot of commentators with regard to the processes that were engaged by the key players, you know, to flag off or to drive the agenda for the national carrier. And I think that a lot of the stuff that were done, you know, for us who live the diaspora, I just didn't think that, you know, they engaged with the process properly. I don't think that they engaged with the party and her manifesto properly.
And that's the issue. I mean, this is the same problem that they had with the launch of the Continental Free Trade Area. Ali, I mean, you know, Nigeria Airways, I mean, you're even dressed as a pilot. No, I'm just kidding. You're not. It's actually for something else. But come on. That would have been nice, wouldn't it?
It would have been nice. But then again, the reality is APCOM actually took possession of one of the national airline. All they could have done is spend that money, or even a percentage of the money that they wanted to launch a new airline, and support that airline to become internationally recognized, and then start flying on behalf of the Nigerian people. But again, as you rightly mentioned, is something now that has affected the Nigerian brand. Is a minus for us. And as the APC chairman mentioned as well, he had been a member of the party that actually said they will bring it back before the end of the term.
It's easier said than done, because there's over 45 billion naira in outstanding payments to the old employees and investors of the old Nigeria.
When you're going into a new company, it's for you to take into account all these things before you make any commitment.
Yeah.
So did they have that commitment before? Ignoring that the fact that there is something outstanding that they need to take care of before launching. In fact, even some of the members or some of the old staff were saying they're going to complain and demonstrate against the Nigerian government launching a new airline because their debt has not been settled.
So, Eunice, I'm not going to ask you about that. I'm going to ask you about this exactly. Okay. Your fellow lady, the finance minister, Kemi Adeosun, we all know she resigned from office after it emerged that her certificate of exemption from the National Youth Service Corps, or the National Service as we call it, was a forgery, unbeknown apparently to her at the time. Now, that comes as something of a shock. Do you think national service should be compulsory, and was she right to resign?
NYSC is a good idea. I'm not one of those that say they should scrap it, but I do believe it needs to be reviewed. There's a lot of elements of the NYSC that needs to be revisited, particularly as it affects those that come from the diaspora over the age of 30. Yes. When you are coming in from the diaspora over the age of 30, there should be, in fact, even those in Nigeria. When I went to youth service, there was a woman in my camp who was 62, and she was already working in the ministry for 30 years. Honestly, it was not funny. We had to always carry her for everything. Seriously, we had to carry her everywhere. And the thing is, she was supposed to be promoted. They refused to promote her because she didn't have NYSC certificate.
And you know,
so she came to catch up. And I'm like, no, that's
core
wrong.
members have actually died.
Yes, that's so wrong.
Which
we
makes
need to revisit
scared.
the law. And then this is something that somebody who does SSCE can do anything in Nigeria, doesn't have to have NYSC. And then those of us who are graduates must do NYSC, even if we return to Nigeria at the age of 50 before we can get it. And then the thing again, the law tells you employment. Calling somebody to service is not the same as calling somebody to come and employ the person and give the person salaries. Kemi Adeosun was called in to serve Nigeria. She was not employed by the government.
So it's a good distinction.
It's a service. And when you come in to serve the country, NYSC shouldn't stop you from doing so.
So you think she shouldn't have resigned?
No. Well, resigning was the forgery part of it. Okay, that one I cannot defend her.
Politically, it doesn't look good.
But she forged that document. How many years ago? I think they said 10 years ago. She was 34. Calm down,
let me help you. She forged it.
Whatever. Whether you know it's a crime or not, as long as you are the one, you get the punishment. That's the basic thing. That's the law.
She took the fall.
Yeah, she has to. But They didn't mention anything when she was commissioner. She came in, she was doing her ministry, whatever.
And only now.
It was all going in. But the moment she said NNPC is remitting way too little money to us in government.
You see a conspiracy here.
Of course, there is a
Eunice.
serious conspiracy because that's what we do in Nigeria. We remove people when they start to attack our...
Relax. Let me call in the APC representative here. We're seeing conspiracy. We're seeing shadows here. People moving in the shadows. Please come in. Tell us what's going on. What's going on?
Thank you very much, Mike. I think the first thing is that I personally would like to commend Mrs. Kemi Adeosun for the courageous stance she took and for her coming out to say, look, yes, I now recognize that I made a mistake, and I recognize that something went wrong with my documentation, and therefore, on the platform of honor, I'll resign. I think that is something unique, and I want to commend her for taking that decision. Now, on the issue of why this information has now come out, I think that, look, it again comes down to the point of how we as a people, as Nigerians, look at issues that are of national value, things that are of benefit to the generality of Nigerian people. If it is the fact that they came after her because she was speaking against the NNPC, I will expect, this is my expectation, I will expect that the entire process surrounding, one, how she obtained that document, B, why the information is coming out now, that entire process needs to be investigated, and anyone found culpable should be punished according to the law. This is how you grow countries, and this is how you grow community spiritedness.
I will say, Doctor, that Ali Soyode is actually on your side on this one. You may be on different sides politically, but he's shaking his head. You're shaking your... No, you're nodding your head, I beg your pardon.
Because being from the diaspora, for me, as somebody who's a former chairman of the diaspora organization, is very, very important, and is key that indeed people living their host nation going back home to serve are not caught out in this type of situation. So indeed, that is if the law will actually be allowed to take due course in finding out how they did pass through the system.
And if you're president, you would change this?
100%.
Okay, so we're staying on that point. Nigerians in the diaspora still don't have the right to vote. They don't have the right to vote in this election, and whereas nationals from like USA, I even hear Ghana is soon to enact it, New Zealand and Brazil, they can vote from their respective embassies, Surely this should change. Surely this should change. Ali.
Well, for the last 10 years for us, we have been fighting that call for Nigeria to allow INEC, which is responsible, always give the assurance that they can conduct that election if the law is changed, which is Section 72B of the Nigerian Constitution, allowing those outside the country to be able to vote. And it is really simple. We can start with our recognized national embassies. For example, the Nigerian High Commission here can be a template where people who can get to London go there and vote. And then it's the same way the result will be transmitted. But again, people in Nigeria will tell you that when their own vote cannot be guaranteed, assured, how much more the Nigerian outside the country. And then there are some sections as well, people feel that if you allow the diaspora outside the country to vote, it will favor some people in some region.
Dr. Philip, you're the APC's man in London. The diaspora can't vote, Doctor. What's your prescription?
That we are in this present situation. Myself and a few of my colleagues have recently come together to try and push again. We put together a video called Support the Diaspora Voting. And I want to commend people like Alistair, who, together with some of his colleagues over the years, have championed this cause, as well as people like Honorable Abike Dabiri, who, while she was in the House, was very much keen and interested in this. I think that it is a great disservice to the Nigerian people, and it is fundamentally an abridgment of our fundamental human rights to deprive us or deny us of the opportunity to participate in selecting who should rule Nigeria.
Okay, Eunice, Eunice will have the last word, ladies. before jumping?
No, we do need to allow the diaspora to vote, particularly as we know that quite a lot of us in the diaspora have a broader perspective, and we are not going to be paying anybody in the diaspora to get their votes. So it's going to happen because that person or those people believe that's the best person for Nigeria. So the diaspora vote can easily decide our presidency in a much better way than the local votes do.
Well, I'll have to say good luck to you guys. This has been a pumping powerhouse of an edition of Nigeria Decides. I'd like to thank our panelists, Dr. Kingsley Moghalu from the YPP, Eunice Atuejide from the NIP, Ali Soyede of the Yes Nigeria Movement, Dr. Philip Adiawo from the APC party coming to us virtually. I'm Mark Edwin from the entire team here in London. Goodbye. See you next time on Nigeria Decides.